Hey everybody, it's Chris. It's been a while since I've worked on 1855, but finally getting to where I can get back at it. If you've been a regular viewer, you know I've changed these rock shaft seals. That's in a video. But I want to get every point that comes out, so hopefully eliminate any leaks. So I want to pull the 3-point lever. I'm going to pull this top cover off. I do believe it's an O-ring in there, but there's some kind of seal in there where the shaft goes through. And it looks like the friction disc has seen its better days, so might as well change that out. And then we've got the draft sensing over here. It doesn't look like it was leaking, but I can almost guarantee you I get it painted and it will leak. Not sure. We got a hydraulic oil temperature sending unit. Not sure on the status of the old one. I guess I could put an ohm meter to it, but I was able to find a new old stock one, so I'm just going to swap it out and I'll keep that other one or test it. Let's see, so got some O-rings, got pan gaskets, transmission cover gaskets, and somewhere I think up in the office are the gaskets for that top cover. So let's dig into it. I almost forgot this baby. I found it laying in the bottom of the pan. I was able to locate a new old stock one of those. It's the dump valve for the servo so that the oil goes back in below the oil level so it ain't injecting oil, making bubbles and foam. So we'll get that swapped out too, which was going to be a lot easier from the top, or probably only available from the top. Well, well, as we can see, that wasn't too hard. That external fitting here engages this one here. This is to speed up or slow down the lift and lower rate of your 3-point hitch. And then your lever hooks in there. So we need to do things. Guess we need to get this plate off because there's a pin through here, which it seems like in the last year, from what I've seen online, there's been a rash of 3-point hitch quit working on the 8 or 1755 or larger, and the pin that goes through that arm had sheared off, and it's just a matter of pulling the cover off, putting a new one in, and back in business. So something to consider if you're having 3-point hitch troubles. Not a guarantee, but for one thing, the servo valve is very easy to get to on these. So let's get this plate off, and then I can get to that roll pin or pin. Of course, if you're working with it on the tractor, it'd be good to not let that stuff fall in. Since it's off, that ain't an issue here. Yeah. You can see the roll pin right there. I think before we do that, we'll take the spring pressure off the friction disc, because it's trying to push the lever out, and then this plate goes over the shaft, and so that's going to kind of fight us on the roll pin on the inside. So in an effort to keep things as easy as possible, we'll do that. Pretty straightforward, maybe, except for it's double nutted. The bigger one takes an 11/16 wrench, but then you need to tighten it some. to get the 9/16 one off the behind it. Maybe. There it goes on there. Am I gonna have to look in the book? We're not gonna go to those lengths. Oh, I think it threads right into the housing. Yeah, that makes sense. Then it doesn't float all over. So now I gotta loosen this back up some. And I can turn the bolt out more. And I should probably do the other one so that they, doesn't go sproing on me from one side having all the pressure. That's what's going on. The bigger one's a lock nut to tension the spring, and the other one's a jam nut to keep the bolt from turning out of the hole. It all makes sense to me now. I gotta say, I don't think I've ever done this style before. They're pretty reliable. Don't often leak. But I'm also not gonna take that chance. All right, let's switch back to this one. Got the bolt out. There's still a bit of spring pressure there. Maybe I should have left it in. It's still gonna be pushing against that, either way. But once this comes loose, then the whole thing will be able to slide off. All right, rethinking that. All right, let's go back to plan A. Knocking that roll pin out. Then sliding the shaft out, then taking the spring pressure off. It's like to be a 5/32 roll pin. At least that's the roll pin punch that's fitting the hole. Woohoo! There's the roll pin. I'm sure this is going to, oops, excuse my wrench. I'm sure this is going to go sproing because there's spring pressure against it once I get the roll pin out. I probably could, clamp. Yeah, take vice grips, clamp, and that would keep the shaft from shooting out on me. Okay, good idea, Chris. Okay. Oh, come on. I'm not asking that much. I think another set of vice grips is in order. Those that get hammered in must get hammered out. All right, let's see the fireworks. Nothing. Embarrassing. There's the O-ring we want to replace that seals the shaft. Right there. Nothing terribly complicated. And as we can see, yeah, that brake has seen its better days. So we will get this off from here, and just like that. And that. Clean things up and go back together. Drop them on the floor. It's always part of the equation. Gonna be something similar on this other for the draft sensing. Probably will end up, oh, it swings around enough. There is a gasket behind this piece, and then there's an O-ring on the shaft again. We only really need to change the O-ring. The gasket has no reason to fail. But driving that out, that could be a worthwhile challenge. I guess if, might have to loosen this up to get it to move around where we can drive the roll pin all the way out. It is what it is. I think how I'm going to tackle this one is, rather than taking that off and pulling out, I am going to remove this clip, that roll pin, disconnect this link, take the shaft in. I won't have to remove this casting. I won't have to find a right angle to drive that roll pin through. Get the O-ring on it changed, come back through, put stuff back on. So I need to take the spring pressure off here. Then I can disconnect this arm. And you know, things. This nut is just a jam nut to lock it in. And it threads through that piece. Time for a ratchet and wrench. Spring. That's a way of saying this is going to be a bear to get threaded back in. All right, what did I do with that roll pin punch that I, just had moments ago? Now, before we do that, let's get this E-clip off. Well, that's embarrassing. Snap ring or E-clip, something. These are supposed to turn independently of each other, so this might be another good reason to have this apart. Your standard American chisel. Also known as the flat screwdriver. Something you don't see me use too often. Penetrating oil, but we're going to. She's on there. Needs more chisels. Oh, they are one. It's a good thing I took it apart, or taking it apart. Guess I could apply our old friend heat. Ha! Now we can drive that roll pin out. Yeah, it's not 1/8 inch. It must be 5/32 like the one inside, which makes sense. Now to just figure out where I hid that from myself. I found it. Oh, another roll pin. I think we'll put new ones back in just because they... Okay, before the GoPro so rudely died. Anyways, I mean, we're not going to disconnect the other end, but we still want that one facing back, this one facing forward. Like that. Now it's just a matter of taking off another clip, and we'll get some needle nose pliers. We'll get this clip off, and then we should be pretty much in business. I said I don't want to wreck it. Oh yeah, that one's Phillips. Well, that went flying, but fortunately, you know, as it just missed my eye, it landed somewhere where I could see it. Is there enough room to remove that without having to remove the clip in the back? The stuff says nay. Okay, we'll take off the other clip. At least I got a recording of how everything goes, so that when I'm confused about putting it back together, I can say, oh yeah, we'll just review the video. There. So we want to remember, slot towards the front, and part number is well upside down and facing the right, if that makes a difference. Now, if everything is going to go according to my plan, that part will fall. It normally goes here. It's not a big deal. We'll just set it down. Swing, swing. I think I'm gonna need a punch of some kind to get it the rest of the way. Watch, this one will not be long enough or something along those lines. Nope, it's fine. Oh, don't give me that. It's gonna give me that. It's not gonna quite come out. Now that I've got this sticking past that cast iron, as I was saying, anything to avoid, you know, a gasket or something. But now that this is past the housing, I can drive that roll pin down and out. If I only, you know, get too many things. All right, light's got to move. Ping. Of course, now it's got some bounce because it's out too far. So here's what we do. We slide it back in until we got it started. Someone's out there just like, remove the 3 bolts. I'm not sure if I have that gasket on hand. There we go. And once that roll pin breaks free. It usually doesn't take too much to get it the rest of the way. You just got to remember, 180 degrees apart. I doubt it's gonna go far enough with that removed. So close. There's the O-ring. It does look like they're clocked the same, so I don't have to worry about being up or down. I guess you're really getting to see how it's put together. The moral of the story is probably just remove the arm off the inside and drive it out, or take the 3 bolts out, order a gasket while you're at it. It's not too often that one takes to leaking. And I'm probably just making busy work doing this. It was so close. Now I just gotta get that O-ring to pop back in there. Because, you know, there it goes. Well, it's definitely got to be replaced now. I can see I sheared some of the old one off. Just doing my part. See how simple that is? Or you can, you know, draw it out like me and make it not as simple. But now I can wire wheel it, clean it up good. But yeah, those pinholes look like they're lined up. If they were clocked slightly different, we need to keep track of that, because upside down would throw off the geometry, but doesn't look like that's the case. So it just popped in my head. Moral of this story should be, if this is leaking out this shaft, you don't even have to take this top cover off. Take those 2 pieces off the outside like I did. Take the 3 bolts off, slide this cast piece off. You can get to the shaft. Might want to pump the oil down a little bit. Clean up the shaft, put a new O-ring on it, put a new gasket on here, slide it back on over the O-ring. Carefully keeping the shaft from pushing in. And yeah, you should be able to do this one all from the outside. I still had to get inside to do the actual lift lever. That's the only way that one was coming out. Well, before I start putting stuff together up here that'll block this, not that it's that hard to get to, but might as well get it done. We'll get that old one out. The new one, hopefully you can read that, 30-3055531. It's actually, I know I called it earlier a sending unit, it's technically a switch, because all it does is when it gets to a certain temperature, switches on, which completes the circuit. In this case, the ground to a light in the dash. So when that turns on, the light turns on. This provides the ground for the light. The light always has power to it when the key's on. And then the ground wire comes to here. If the oil gets too hot, switchy. And let's see if there's any info on the sending unit. 210 degrees Fahrenheit, 210 F. In case you're wondering and you want to just find your own switch. And the manufacturer number is 3631. Sure looks like that. 3WR4. I don't know. 210 degrees. I think that's 3/4 inch pipe thread. Maybe it's half. I think it's half. When in doubt, get a longer bar and move the GoPro out of the way. Oh man, she's on there. There it goes. Someone didn't want it to leak. Guess the easy way to test this would get some water heated up to 210 degrees Fahrenheit and see if it switches on. Put it in the hot water, put a probe on your multimeter here and here, and to all you teenage girls out there that like Stanley, there it is. Some leak lock on there. Let's screw it in. I better crank it down. Some is good, more is better. Okay, I'm gonna crank it some more because I don't want to have to try to run a screwdriver at that angle to put the wire on. A little more. That's more acceptable. More better, as some people like to say. Well, we've got this cover off. I wanted to explain this plug right here. I've seen online where people say that's where you hook up for your power beyond on these tractors, and that is wrong. It is for the tractors with external lift hydraulic cylinders for the 3-point hitch. This one is internal, so the line comes out of the bottom of the manifold here, goes forward to the lift cylinder. But it's into the same drilling as this, which is just, plugged off. I do know someone that has a tractor where he's got both the internal and external. He did it himself. It wasn't a factory option, but you really increase your lift capacity because you got that cylinder in there plus 2 outside. It's going to slow your lift times down a little bit because it takes more oil to move them. But it is something that can be done, and with these, you have to change the drawbar cradle because that's where the external cylinders mount. There's weldments on those, and then you have to have different arms up here because they've got the holes in them for the cylinders to go to, and then the cylinders, and take out that plug, T into it, and hook up the 2 cylinders to it, and away you go. So, few parts, stuff that's around. The guy wanted to do it. All right, I think we're to the point where I can start going back together. And we'll start with this draft / position control that's on the left here, because it's down lower. We don't need the upper stuff getting in the way of the lower stuff. I need to find an O-ring. Well, when you figure, let's see, these, that's the one off from the tractor. 3/8 by 1/16 is too small, and 1/2 inch by 1/16 is too large. So it must be, I need, what would it be, 7/16, which isn't in this kit. Let's see if I got something up front. Let's see, where was I? Because it's actually been a few days. Got stuff cleaned up, went up front, did some digging. The friction disc for the 3-point lever is the exact same one as a Super 55 550. Carries an E part number, and I had one on hand, so goody goody. And those O-rings were what I was saying. They were in between 3/8 and 1/2 inch. They are 1/16 cross section and 7/16 ID. And so had a few of those on hand too. So I think we're to the point of going back together, and hopefully I won't have to review the video. So I need to get an O-ring in this groove here, run this baby in, get the lever on there, put a new roll pin on, put stuff on here, stuff. And of course it falls in that snap ring groove. Should have come at it from the other end, even though it was a longer way. Day's barely even going and you've already screwed up. The eyes weren't what they used to be. maybe what we'll do now is, since that one's in there, is roll the other one over it and get that one in the groove, then get this one out, hopefully without hurting it. Yeah, I think I'm under it. Yeah, there we go. The whole reason of doing this was so it wouldn't leak. All right, that should be a problem solved there. So while looking up parts, this actually uses an O-ring to seal. The bolt holes are blind, so there's no oil leaking through those. So really this ain't that hard to pull out and reseal, just an O-ring. But we've gone this far. We're committed. Got the grease here. And that's in there, so now we just need to find where I hid the lever from myself. And that's this one. And what did I say? This one goes back, the other one goes forward. So probably want it in as close as to the support as possible. And it's just a matter of hitting the hole with a roll pin. Oh, he's so much fun getting roll pins started, especially when they're down in somewhere like that. I could start it in the arm and then hopefully hit the hole. If you're wondering, it's a 5/32 by 1.5" roll pin. I'm putting new ones in just to be safe. They are known to fail sometimes. Okay. Can this big old mallet thing fit down in there? No. I'm going to need more hands than I have. Huh. Do I have a long-nosed hammer? That ain't it. And some of you are probably saying, getting a punch. Been running out of hands. All right, I am going to pull this lever off and kind of go blind. Start the roll pin in the lever outside. Okay, imagine to yourself that I just did that. Let's see, I need to turn it. That looks pretty darn close right there. Let me grab a punch. By gum, I think we got it. There's too many cameras and lights in the way. Who knew it was going to be a production? All right. Well, that end goes back where I thought it might. Okay. So we know this one faces forward. We'll get the roll pin started. In retrospect, if this is leaking, you can take off these outer things, take off the 3 bolts that hold this on, and slide it out. Change the O-ring on the shaft, change the O-ring on this, and put it back in. So in some ways I'm making it more complicated than it needed to be. But other ways, to do the other side, definitely have to take the cover off to get that one. So, yeah, let's see. Somewhere right in there. I said somewhere right in there. Got it. So this baby, did it go on like so? I might have to review the video or go look at another tractor. Yeah, the spring goes through. Got the spring retainer Yep. Or the spring gets captured in this little recess. Bolt goes through that. Yeah, that's right. All right, Chris, where'd you hide the snap ring from yourself? Oh yeah, I was gonna put just a little bit of, what do you think, grease or anti-seize? I think anti-seize will stay better. So that can pivot. It was set up before. That should keep it free for a long time to come. Then we'll see if we can't hit ourselves in the eye with an E-clip. There she goes. So what did I say? Oh yeah, that's gonna take some compression. Nice. So what can I do to pre-compress this spring? Whoa, dude. Let me take that off for the moment. Huh. Zip ties? What do you think? I bet it says something in the book. I normally do my sketchiest work off camera, but what the heck, it's YouTube, right? So for all my moms that are watching, here's the safety glasses so that, you know.
No, shoot your eye out.
Oh no.
I don't shoot my eye out. Yeah, I'm not sure how well this is gonna work. I need one of those strut for car clamps things, you know, spring compressor, strut compressor, I don't know. Almost needs a third wire. I've got more wire. Spring. That seems grossly inadequate. But since I have safety glasses, I am safe. Don't try this at home, kids. It still wants to go crooked ways. I have so many wires in it, I won't be able to get the bolt through. It's ugly, but it just might work. Let's go try it out. Get the bolt through the middle. Oh, it's coming up a little short. Huh. Wonder if that was important. Ah, yeah, it's the bolt I need. Oh, don't do that. There's probably some tool for this. I could always read the book and see what they say. What's the saying? It ain't stupid if it works. Ah, too many angles. Probably should have assembled this part on the bench, then shoved it in. Yeah. Yeah, that's starting to seem like the best idea. Learn from my mistakes. Spring. Oh, that was close. Okay, I'm starting to think with the thinker thing. Still not breaking that book out though. If I take this out, then I can probably use my valve spring compressor tool, and I'd have to take this off the end here. Get some room in there for my hand so I can pinch something off. All right. Get it where it's gonna slide around on me. Hurt me. maybe the solution is this. Oh, that's working much better. All I had to do is get it started. Okay, so ignore all those other methods and use this one so far. So now I can push that through and turn that. Maybe I want to get this started first. I almost need to start them both at the same time. Maybe this wasn't the solution. Okay. Of course, that turns it, or makes it so it doesn't grab. Ugh. Remind me not to do this again. Ah. Oh, get in there. Get in there. Oh no, I thought I had it. Okay, I'm getting warm. So close and yet so far. I think it's time for the return of the swear jar. Oh, with the right tool, the right tool. Well, of course, the battery dies just as I getting it in there. But by golly, I won the struggle. Let's get this C-clip on there before things go south. Okay, the moral of the story is let that leak. In retrospect, it's probably easier to take the cover off. Of course, you can't drive that roll pin out without pushing it in. I don't know. Just live with it. Live with it. All right, let's get this in place. It had just enough sticking through for the jam nut to be on. Next time I got the book out, I'll read it and probably say, oh my God, that was so stupid. Could have been so much easier. All right, let's see if we can get all this guts back in. Do you remember, let's see, that was in that. Oh no, do I have to review the video? I do believe, like that. Has to go into the servo first. You can see that pin's longer. That one doesn't have a retainer. Guess it doesn't need one. And this was up like this. And something just doesn't seem cromulent. Is that more like it? Oh, that can't be right. I might have to look this up in a book. Because it's been a few days and my brain has already forgotten it. Let's see, maybe more like that. But I'm pretty sure the slot was towards the front. So maybe more like so. And so. And so. That's looking better. And then this would be like so. That looks right. So yeah, the slot goes forward. This farm's facing up. So I just got to put a couple of clips back on. And I can put the other arm, or the control lever in. Hey, there it goes. I'm gonna say I put the first one on without the camera, without incident. Turn the camera on, all bets are off. Okay, I am ready to put this lever back on. Here is the brake plate. We're gonna leave the springs and stuff off for now, because otherwise it's gonna make getting the lever on the inside hooked back up. Like I mentioned earlier, that's a 550 brake disc for a 3-point hitch brake disc. That's what the book calls for. Got my O-ring on the shaft, a little bit of grease on it so it slides in without getting torn up. We gotta have this washer in there. And then this. So, you know, I put my shaft in too soon. We'll just back that out, put that back in. And, you know, I should probably look and see where the hole is. Right about there. All right, hammer. All right, that light's gonna have to move for the moment. Always so much fun. You know what I should have done is made a mark to index where that thing is. I guess I can pull it back out. Okay, the hole is there. Oops. Okay, hole here. That. Okay, let's see if that improves my odds. I'll be careful not to whack that cast iron part and break that. No, I don't have it started. Dang it. There's my line. Out just a little bit. Huh. Maybe I can poke a punch up from the bottom. And my punch is a little too long to get in the hole. Let's try that. Oh man. Maybe a smaller punch that is shorter. Well, sorry, but move the camera out of the way, the light. Got some room. And finally got it in. Seems that's the way it works. If the camera's on, it doesn't go. Okay, I had a punch. All right. Now we can get this brake part thing on. Okay. Woo. We want to get the bolt through. Then the spring. And then the flat washer. Then the lock nut. And we want to get that through enough to get the jam nut on. We'll just zip, zip, zip. Oh, look, I already got spring pressure. So maybe we'll back off a little bit. We'll drop a wrench. Burp a little bit. All right. I'm gonna try spinning that down a little bit. You want to get it threaded into the housing good without tearing things up, like I think I was starting to do. I guess it's all right. Now let's try the super exciting, fun other side, because it's already got spring pressure against it. Stuff like that. This might be where the vice grips come back in to being handy. Oop, don't want to forget that flat washer. Let's put that spring back in there. Let's drop the bolt. Oh, jeez. Yeah. The college fund is getting filled up on this project, and it's so simple. Just, you know, just a 2 O-rings and a gasket and springs. Okay, I can get that started into that lock nut. Then I've got to get that back far enough to somehow get that jam nut in there. I can only imagine how hard that roll pin would be trying to line up the hole with this spring pressure against it. So we're not going that route. No, sir. Well, that's just a little bit of evil right there. I put a pair of vice grips on the bolt so I can pry back against it to get that in there. Now I need to turn it in because it is actually not actually started into that jam nut. Yeah, let's put some more spring pressure against it. Okay, I think we found our skinny wrench. feels like it's threading into the housing. I want to get it engaged pretty good so that it can have something to hold up to. Don't need it wiggling and breaking off or something. I'm good at that. I think I'm just going to go until it bottoms out. Same with the back one here. Fun with springs. Try to keep the two even. I'll call that good. All right, tighten that jam nut. I'll double check that one. And take this vice grips off there. This bolt acts as a stop for your upper and lower travel. Got some pretty good friction there. Let's see, I think it is currently on its lowest setting, yeah. We'll leave it like that for now. It's a brand new brake. Maybe after it breaks in. But if you're looking to tighten up your 3-point lever brake, it's just these larger nuts. You turn them in that way, and it puts more spring pressure, pushes more on the brake disc, and causes more friction. All right, man. Don't try this at home. Maybe even in your workshop. This is one of those jobs you hire done. Don't want to forget to put this travel stop limiter doohickey back in here. It keeps the servo valve spool from going too far in and probably too far out. And then we just have this dump line that fell out and got all crimped that we saw earlier. And I was able to find an OEM replacement one. It's like all the seal came out and stayed in here. And new one came with new packing nut seal, the whole 9 yards. Like I said before, all this does is just when the 3-point hitch goes down, the servo valve is letting oil out of the piston, and you want it to go in below the oil level, and that way it's not injecting air in and making it foam up, which causes trouble. That looks like as good as a position as any. Probably at some point when the oil was cold and thick, they probably had something heavy on the 3-point hitch, let it down quick, and it just blew that line out of that. The only thing that holds it in there is once those rubber seals are crimped down. So that excessive pressure, probably that and just years of use, the rubber expanded some or something and got a little looser. But it's in now. Guy could make one up pretty easy. It's just steel line. I'll try to give a quick rundown. My memory card's getting full. So this arm on this is to sense the position of where your arms are at. The bottom part here looks to the draft sensing that's on the lower links. And then this goes in and turns that arm. So depending on where this is at, can change the position of this. Then when you move the lever, of course now this wants to move because it's not all hooked up. It'll move that in and out. So as I call for it to lower, if I push forward and pull this other part back where it should be, you can see the spool comes out, and then that would let it down. And then as it came down, this part would rock, and that would let this rod go forward, pushing this back. And this arm here would then let this come back, going back into the neutral position. Actually, that's probably more like the raised position. There's a balance in there. Out is down, back is up, right in the middle is neutral. And so stuff's always trying to find that spot. If you move the lever, that changes the position of the inner levers and these links, and everything moves until it gets back to where this spool is in the middle. that's pretty much just how it works. So when you hit a heavy load, that bottom linkage moves. So even if the top doesn't, it'll pull back on this, which, where is that? You know, that would, it might, let's see, that would rock, it would rock forward. This would normally be pulled back, my bad. And be normally pulled back. Then when you hit a hard load, it starts letting it forward, and that lets the spool go back to the raised position, which will then turn this, which, as you can see, as this goes up, it turns that, which can't move because it's hooked to stuff that ain't there right now. Hopefully you're following all this. But anyways, once this comes up a little bit, then the load lightens up and that arm will move back, and then it'll eventually go back down. And that's all there is to it. Let's get this cover back on. There we go. New O-ring seals, new gasket, fix that bypass line or return line. I think it's ready to set back on the tractor, other than maybe a little more cleanup. So, seems like an easy project. Thanks to things like springs, boy, I would have to give it a 1 out of 5 stars. Do not recommend. But hopefully you gained something from it, or chuckled a little, had some fun. Maybe you'll have to fix it yourself someday, and now you'll get to have a better idea what you got to do. As always, I appreciate everybody watching, and we will see you in the next one.